All right, there we go. We're recording now. Um, hey guys, Spooky here. Just a really, really quick one. This is actually part of a video that I was already doing, so I did a lot of this work last night, like maybe 28 hours ago. Oh no, sorry, it's only 5 p.m. here. Yeah, what does that put us at? Like, 20 hours ago. It was a late one. And I was just trying to figure out math on like the different times of a killer based on their speed and how that's going to impact their chase time. Surprisingly, like around 6 hours ago, Scott Jund actually released a breakdown of different killer speeds where he ran them across the map. He used a Huntress 110 speed killer, one without and one with. Oh, my cat's opening. Can you see that he's opening a door? I'm gonna... We'll wait. Dende, we're all looking at you. Anyway, if that door opens, that's him. Yeah, sorry. So he used the same killer, Huntress, 110 speed killer, 110 movement speed, 4.4 meters per second, just so everyone's across on the same piece. And he then ran it with a stack of Play With Your Food, which gives it 5%, brings it at the speed of a standard killer, your Hillbilly, your Trapper, Ghostface, that sort of thing. And then he ran that comparison by getting them across the longest distance of the map, and he found that it's about like 1.5 seconds, something like that difference. And I think that the way that he's thinking about it in the math is a bit off. So I wanted to give you a better understanding of the sort of reasons that it feels like a 115 speed killer is a lot faster than a 110 speed killer. And this is sort of where it comes in. I think the big challenge here is that he didn't take into account the fact that when you're playing killer, you're not running across the map. Like, running across the map obviously is something that you do, but your main objective and the thing that where your speed really matters to you isn't running across the map. It's actually running and chasing down a survivor. And a survivor moves at 4 meters per second. The difference here being that your relative speed to the survivor with a killer is 50% faster if you're running a 115 speed killer compared to a 110. Or if you can view it as you're running at 2/3 the speed if you're running a 110 killer. So if you're playing your Hag, your Huntress, your Deathslinger, you're moving at 2/3 the speed compared to. And that's why you're seeing that difference. We've done a mathematical breakdown on this, and my apologies, my videos normally are a little more scripted, but we've done a mathematical breakdown on this, which I'll just quickly show you. You like this? You should check out my stream, twitch.tv/spooky_strikes. Anyway, can I bring my camera back up? No. My camera might be in the way, actually, so let's not worry about that. So we're just here, and I've run this through Excel, mostly because that's where most of my skills live. I'll run a more in-depth simulation in Python, which will take like Bloodlust into account. But this assumes that both killer and survivor are running along a straight track. No one's moving. And I've taken a starting distance that you can see just up the top here. So I've taken this starting distance into account as well. So I'm saying that and I've run this across multiple simulations essentially with different starting distances. It takes the killer speed into account. It takes your lunge distance and lunge time into account. And then essentially it uses all of these along with the survivor speed to calculate the time for your first hit. And the way that we do that is it's your starting distance divided by your average velocity, so your relative velocity to the survivor. So this is your killer speed -4 for the survivor speed. You're approaching at 60 centimeters per second, or 0.6. And then we take the killer's lunge time out of the equation as well because we've got the lunge. Now, that's essentially the time it takes for you to be able to start a lunge and get the hit, if that makes sense. Now, from that, we're able to tell that the first hit, time to hit is 26.36 recurring seconds. We then take the killer's distance that they travel while they're in their slower mode after they've landed a successful hit, which is 0.8625 relative speed to the survivor, so that's the ×4 here, and then they have that for 3 seconds, which is the ×3. They get 10.35 meters covered in those 3 seconds. whereas the survivor will cover 16 because they spend 2 seconds running with sprint burst essentially, and then they have 1 second of slowed down killer time as well, where they run at normal speed. Please ignore this. This is part of a broken formula that no longer works because I revised everything today because I finally figured out the best way to calculate this. Or, best so far. So we have a total chase time of 34.93 recurring seconds, and you'll see that that's pretty on point here with the model that I've built. And then what I've done is I've basically got 4.4 is the killer speed, it updates there, and I've collated all of these with different spawning speeds. With 0, I've actually just taken the time for second hit. 0 is essentially just the time, because this goes negative -3 essentially, right? So it doesn't matter, it just throws it off a little bit. So I've just taken time to second hit here for this piece. Now, if we just quickly move around, oh my god, this is going well. I'm probably not going to edit this piece. I just want to get this video really out really quickly to handle that. And I actually have a much more in-detail guide on movement that'll be releasing a few hours after this. But you can see that your chase time actually does have a significant difference, even just if there's only 24 meters. Now, I'm assuming that all killers will more or less sort of like cut and run the pallets the same, depending on the killer that you're playing. And it's going to, like, your chase time is obviously 110 speed killers have different advantages around range. Either they don't need the range because they can teleport, or they can blink, or they can shoot, or they can throw hatchets, that sort of thing. But like this is really helping you understand, like, if you need to get that M1, if you've used your shot and you've missed his Deathslinger, or if you've like missed you're out of hatchet says Huntress, and like that's a specific example that Scott mentioned. You've got some really significant differences here. In fact, what I can do is just equals this minus this. Oh, come on, dude. This. I hate this so much. All right, I might edit that bit. Yeah, so if I do this, just run that there. You can see that, like, at 32 meters, so if they leave right on the edge of your terror radius, the second they notice it, it's 29 extra seconds. If they leave halfway through your terror radius, if you're a 32 meter terror radius killer, it's an extra 16 seconds in every chase. And that's significant because, like, 16 seconds is 20% of a generator, essentially. And if all 3 survivors are doing gens, you've basically, like, that's a lot of, like, the survivors pooled 400 hit points for generator time that they've given up, essentially. And that's where I wanted to make that point, that you should be considering. Don't go in and play a 110 killer and assume that you can play it like a 115. You do have to still take that difference in timing into account. That's why you don't chase with Hag. That's why the best Hag players will chase, they'll teleport, they'll get the hit, and then they go straight back to setting up their nested traps. That's why with Deathslinger, they always try and maneuver people where they can use their gun the best. They always try and reload where they can as well. Even though it does slow them down and give the survivor extra distance, because you need that distance. Huntresses generally need to figure, like, am I going to take 15 seconds or more to get this hit? If not, I'm going to go reload. If it will, I will reload. And that's really the long and short of it. So, look, guys, that's obviously no slight on Scott. I think that the way that he did it was still valid. It kind of makes, like, an intuitive amount of sense, but it just sort of lacks a little bit of the nuance there, and I wanted to, like, clarify. But I think for the most part, this sort of discussion is really good for Dead by Daylight and for the community. I'd love to try and get more statistics out of the developers, trying to see what we can run. I think that for the most part, this actually is a really good balancing point, especially given how, like, absolutely oppressive Hag is in the current meta. And I think that's I play a lot of Hag, by the way, so don't worry. But like I think that this is a really good way for the developers to balance, is to release stronger killers with lower movement speeds. Anyway, guys, if you appreciated that, please give me a follow on Twitch or subscribe here on YouTube. My Twitch is spooky_strikes. And I do Dead by Daylight really frequently. Rank 1 killer, rank 3-ish survivor main. Sorry, not a survivor main, just a rank 3 survivor. And I mostly Swift, and I'll be very honest with that. But if you enjoyed that, there's also going to be a movement guide coming out, and then I've got basic scripts around like how to loot each tile that I'm still working on. I need to get around like really neat things like Ormond. But I hope that was informative for you. And I'll catch you guys later. Bye.